أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الواحد الأحد الحكيم الصمد الذي كان من عز صفاته أنه لم يلد ولم يولد، وعرفنا بوحدانيته بقوله ولم يكن له كفوا أحد، والصلاة والسلام على العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقال أمير المؤمنين مولى الموحدين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب فزت ورب الكعبة صلوات. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, tonight we have the final majlis of the series of 3 majalis concerning the shahadat of Amirul Mu'mineen, Imamul Muttaqeen, Mawla al-Muwahhideen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. In last 2 majalis, I have presented some of my thoughts about Amirul Mu'mineen, and I mentioned that it happens in our daily experiences that sometime you want to introduce somebody and you feel that you don't have enough words. You don't have the appropriate words to use to introduce that person. Whatever words you find, those words are too short, too small for that particular person. And you end up adding the additional notes, giving some explanations to make the introduction proper. I said yesterday, I want to connect with my yesterday's speech, that in Arabic or in Farsi, they have some words like ustura, which is used for legend. If they want to really talk about someone very highly and they want to say that he is very special, then they use the word for him that he is ustura, legend. Or in Arabic they have another word with like abkari, with genius. When they want to pay tribute to someone that they think is very special, extraordinary, then they use the word abqari. And I said last night that these words like ustura and like abqari are too short and too small if you want to use them for the person and the personality of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. You don't find any word to describe your Imam. He was beyond these words and these phrases. These phrases fall short to explain who he was. A man that a Christian poet in Lebanon, when he wants to pay tribute to him, he says this man was nuskhatun mufrada, meaning just one copy of one edition. Book was published, only one edition and only one copy. There is no second copy of that book. A man that who has so much virtue and so much merit and so much talent and so much gift that he is a person that in human history remains unparalleled, unique in each and every aspect of his life. I am not doing poetry. I am just giving you the gist of some of the ahadith which Prophet himself had about Imam Ali. And one of those is that where he says that if there wasn't Ali in existence, I wouldn't find any partner for Fatima from Adam till Isa. There wouldn't be any partner and any match for Lady Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. Kufuv. There wouldn't be any kufuv for Fatima. So my brothers and sisters, this person and personality of Ali is mazloom tareen fard of again our history. We cry and weep for the mazloomiyat of Imam Hussain, whose mazloomiyat is the mazloomiyat of only one day, Ashura. But Ali is mazloom for 30 years. Mazloomiyat of Ali is mazloomiyat of 30 years, where he himself refers to it in Khutbah Shakshaqiyya. وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَضَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى, that my eyes were in a situation where as you have some dirt and dust and some stuff like thrown in my eyes, you know, eye is so subtle, so latif, that even when our own one hair from our these eyelashes, if it goes in the eye, until you don't take it out, you are not in peace. You make an every effort to take that one hair of your own out of your eye to feel peace. Or if you have ever had the fish, and then if something from the fish, that, what is this called, the fish bone, it gets stuck in your hulk, and for every second you feel pain of that, for every second, until you take it out. Ali says, I was in that condition for 25 years. فِي الْعَيْنِ قَضَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى. And I saw in front of me Islam being changed, the principles being trampled, and innocent people being exploited, and the discrimination was taking place from the member and mihrab of the Prophet himself, from Masjidun Nabi after the death of Prophet. And a man who was the standard of haqq, a man who was the guardian of deen, a man who was responsible for truth and to maintaining the truth. He was so madloom, so majboor, so much so that he cannot even come and help his own madloom wife. Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, and a husband like Ali, who is la fatah illa Ali, la saif illa Zulfiqar. A man who can defeat Marhab, a man who can go and defeat Amr ibn Abdubad, a man who can defeat the army of thousands and thousands single-handedly, a man with that might, a man with that much power, a man with that much power and might cannot go and defend his own wife. He cannot go and defend the one beloved companion of Prophet, Abu Dhar, who was being put in exile from Medina. Abu Dhar was one of the most favorite companions of Prophet, and he was removed from Medina to go and live in the Syria. And then later on, even the Muawiyah said that this man is going to create so much trouble for me if he remains in exile in Syria. Today, this tashayyu which we see in Lebanon and Syria and in that area, these are the effects of the presence of this one Shia of Ali, Abu Dhar, in that area. And finally, the government of Uthman brought Abu Dhar from Syria and put him in exile in a place called Rabada, where he died finally. So much injustice, so much cruelty, so much discrimination was taking place in the noble city of Medina, and Ali is majboor. Because Ali is majboor because of those masalih of Islam, for the greater benefit or the greater picture of Islam. A man of that kind, that who was mazloom tareen man, lived for 30 years of that life of mazloomiyat. A selfless man who started serving Islam and Muslims as a child at the age of 10. Ali is in the service of God and in the service of Prophet of God and in the service of Islam and in the service of community as a 10 years old child. And then he spent his all youth age when others were enjoying playing. You know, the youth love to play. That is their time when we parents give them that this is their time to go and enjoy. Ali never had childhood. Ali never had that youth age which other youths have. Ali spent all his childhood in the service of Islam. Ali spent his shabab, his youth age. Sometimes some of us, if we never had got chance to play around in our youth age, we have that hasrat always in our life. And in old age, if we get the opportunity, we want to become again 18 years old young man because we missed that time in our life. I never got to do all those things which young people do at the age 16 or 18. اردو میں ہم کہتے ہیں کہ وہ سینگ کٹا کے بچھڑوں میں شامل ہونا. And that is a sometime desire in some people, that I never got opportunity at that time, and now I am going to do that. But Ali is a man who never had a childhood. Ali is a man who never had that youth age. His hammo gham, all his activities were ibadat, riyazat, service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to the Prophet of Allah, or to the community and the cause. He was in his very early 20s when he slept on the bed of Prophet on Shab-e Hijrat, on the night of Hijrat. He is in his very young 20s, early 20s, and he is giving his life such a commitment. A young man at that age, who is not even married yet, doesn't have any child, doesn't have wife, and he knows one of the outcomes of sleeping at this bed, which is death bed, is going to be the end of life. But Ali comes, a young man in his early 20s, and sleeps on the bed of the Prophet to save and protect the Prophet and Islam. A man whose life is a life of commitment, life of sacrifices, life of services, and who was wearing so many hats. When you have a small following, when you have small numbers in any movement, then everybody has to wear so many hats. And particularly those who are very talented, those who are very gifted, those who are very capable people, they wear so many hats to serve the movement and to make the movement succeed. Ali was one of those people who was wearing so many hats. He was servant of Prophet. He was brother of Prophet. He was assistant of Prophet. He was student of Prophet. He was representative of Prophet. He was envoy of Prophet. He was qazi. He was general. He was soldier. He was trustee of the Prophet. And he was a donor for the Prophet. And he was the one who was going everywhere in the community to fix all those issues and problems wherever these issues and problems may arise, locally in the city of Medina or even up till Yemen. A man who was totally selfless. If it was not the daughter of Prophet, if it was not Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, and it was any other wife, she would not really accept this kind of husband at home, who was never available to her. Every time he is on duty, either in masjid, either in community, either in battlefield, either he is traveling, carrying the messages of Prophet, fighting on front, and then when he comes back to home, he is all wounded, he is all bleeding. We Shias sometime, because in our mind we don't have these things and our Zakireen don't tell us, we think Imam Ali was fighting like just the Superman fights, and he would go and hit everybody and he would strike everybody, but nobody was able to strike him, for example. Well, that is not the case. When you go in the battlefield and when you fight that many fights single-handedly, and you go on front and you go in to fight with those very known warriors, then as you will strike, you will be strike too. And Imam Ali's body was full of wounds. Matter of fact, this particular strike which Ibn Muljam had put in his head one of the reasons that this became very severe and finally it took the life of Imam Ali, the problem was that there was previously a injury at the same point of the head in one of the wars. Imam Ali's head was injured from the same point. And this new strike also came on the same point. Imam Ali would come home while he was bleeding, wounded, injured, and empty hand, while others would bring so much booty with them and male ghanimat, and Ali would come most of the time empty hand. Because whatever Prophet would give him, while he is walking to home, somebody would ask him in the streets that, Ya Ali, I need it. I am a needy person, I am faqir, I am miskeen, I need it. And Ali would give it right away over there. A man that who lived that kind of life, my brothers and sisters, if he has that special place in our hearts and in our minds, and if he has lovers all in the Muslim world and everywhere in the world, in the history, that love of Ali doesn't come freely. This love is because of his concerns for humanity, because of his services, because of his that outstanding character. When you are selfless, when you provide services, when you help, when you contribute, when you donate, when you are a person of those extraordinary talents and gifts, then people fall in love with you. And you know, among the Muslim figures, Ashab or Ahlul Bayt, the most beloved one among the Muslims is actually after the Prophet, Imam Ali. We Shias, of course, love him and we are his followers. But he is equally loved and respected and regarded among the Ahlus Sunnah also. The difference is only first or fourth. But still, they love him, they respect him, they regard him, and they accept him. And if you count all Muslims, if they love someone after Prophet, that is only Ali, from those few people in the very beginning. And then these are not only the Shias or Sunnis. In India, there are Hindus, and there are Sikhs, and in Lebanon and Syria and Iraq and Iran, there are Christians and Jews and these Majus and Atash Parast that who are lovers of Imam Ali, and they have written books in the name of Imam Ali, and the poetry in the love and in the praise of Imam Ali. Imam Ali has appealed to hearts. Imam Ali has appealed to minds. Imam Ali has appealed to all those genuine human minds and human hearts that who are impressed by generosity, nobility, bravery, intelligence, wisdom, eloquence, art, literature, speech, debate, all these areas, whatever, if you are the one that who appreciate these things, you are going to appreciate the master of all these talents and master of all these gifts and master of all these specialities. Who has seen a speaker like Ali? Khatib-e-Mimbar Saluni, that when he would sit on the top of Mimbar and when he would give the khutbah and his speech, even Khawarij that who hated Imam Ali, but they would sit down and hide somewhere to at least listen the khitabat and the eloquence of Ali. They hated Imam Ali, but still they would hide somewhere to listen the eloquence and the speech and the khitabat of this khatib. Today his Nahjul Balagha is still after Quran, it is after Quran the most eloquent book. Open it, it's khutbahs, it's makatib, it's kalimat-e-qisar, words of wisdom. It is encyclopedia, it has ma'arif, it has akhlaq, it has politics, it has sociology, it has self-development. You think of anything and you find in Nahjul Balagha. I will share with you a few words from Nahjul Balagha. I have brought it for you because today we are going to review some words from him. A man that who spoke on countless topics, addressed very sensitive situations, very sensitive times. When people came to him begging him that extend your hand, we want to make bay'at at your hand, there is a beautiful khutbah in Nahjul Balagha where he says, don't force me for this position. As you have been always going on other doors so far, I will beg you that at least now don't come to me, go somewhere else. Because we are looking at the situation, this situation has different kind of alwan, colors. Situation is very sensitive, and I don't think that this is the proper time for a person like me to come in. And then all of a sudden he says that if you force me and if you make me to become your leader, then open your ears and listen. I will take you all on that way which I know. I am not going to listen to you guys. I will go the way which I know. And I am not going to please you guys, and I am not going to walk the way which you would like to walk. I will not pay any attention to your criticism, and I am not going to listen to your praise. If I am the Amirul Mu'mineen, then I am going to lead on the way of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. That was his very straightforward speech. He didn't promise anything to people that I will do this for you or I will do this as normally politicians do for the positions. He was a man of principle. You know that when after the injury of Umar ibn Khattab, when that shura was made, that they had to select somebody as Khalifa, then they approached to Imam Ali, knowing the psychology of Imam Ali, knowing his mind. They said, Ya Ali, you are the best option. We would like to take you as the Khalifa. Just you need to make one commitment, that you will lead the Ummah in the light of Quran, in the light of Sunnah of the Prophet, and in the light of Sirat-e Shaykhain. This is what is written in every Muslim history. You have to give us the commitment that you will guide, you will lead, you will live, you will govern by Quran, by Sunnah and the Sirat of Shaykhain. Ali said, of course, I am going to abide, obey the Quran, and I am going to abide and obey the Sunnah of Prophet. But as far as this third condition which you have put, I cannot commit that one. I cannot commit that. That was the point when they went to Uthman ibn Affan. And they said, Ali has refused our condition, what about you? And he said, yes, definitely. I will follow Quran, I will follow Sunnah, and I will follow Sirat-e Shaykhain. And everybody knows, any student of history knows that he never did that. He abandoned even not only the Sunnat of Prophet, but even the Sunnat of Shaykhain. That is what even the Sunni scholars, they all write. Read the writings of Sayyid Maududi, for example, and many other scholars in Egypt and other places. They say Uthman ibn Affan abandoned not only the Sunnat of Prophet, but even the Sunnat of Abu Bakr and Umar. But Ali, if he was a politician, if he was a greedy man for the power, then he would say, yes, because this is how I will come in, and then I will do whatever I want. But Imam Ali was a man who was man of principles, who was straightforward. And then he demonstrated that on the first day when he sat on the minbar. When he sat on the minbar, he demonstrated what he is going to do. What did happen when he sat on the minbar? When he come on the minbar, you know that Prophet was used to sit here. After the death of Prophet, when the first Caliph was chosen, when he came to sit on the minbar, he said, of course, I cannot sit on the place of the Prophet. So he sat down here. And when the second Khalifa was selected, when his turn came, so he said, no, Prophet was senior and Abu Bakr was also my Shaykh and senior, I cannot sit at his place, so he sat down over there. And then when Usman came, he said, I am junior than Abu Bakr and Umar both, so he sat down on that, the final one, the bottom one. Now people were figuring it out when they selected Imam Ali, where he is going to sit. Because the minbar had only that many steps. This was for Prophet, that was for Abu Bakr, that was for Umar, and that was for Usman. Now, where Ali is going to sit on the minbar? And to amazement of all, when he comes, he puts his foot on the first, he puts the foot on the second, he puts foot on the third, and he comes and sits at the place where Muhammad Mustafa was used to sit. In the interest of time, I will not get into the further details, but the point is, he was a man who demonstrated that he is going to lead in the same way as the Prophet was used to lead. His way, his vision, his philosophy, his mindset, his agenda, his values, his priorities are all the priorities of the Prophet. And he had anticipated. In the same khutbah, he said, you guys are going to abandon me later. You are going to leave me alone. And I know that you cannot take the heat. You cannot really bear the justice of Ali. Because for those last 25 years, people had got the privileges and special treatments, and a big class of VIPs had emerged. And this was a community full of VIPs, people with the special tags and special considerations and special treatments and special privileges. And Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, when he started ruling, all those VIPs, and these VIPs, you know, they have magic. If they are with you, they can go and bring the whole world under your parcham. And if they get problem with you, then they can go and destroy your whole world. And those innocent people, the common people outside, they don't understand. They just listen to these VIPs, these opinion makers, these leaders, or the people that who are well connected, chiefs of tribes, chiefs of the groups, the people who are very talkative, the people who are very influential, people who are very social, people who are very successful economically, worldly. These people have their own followings. So if they come to you, they bring all their followings to you, and if when they leave you, then they take all those with them. And this is what happened with Ali. That when they left Ali, Ali was standing alone. Then Ali was standing alone. If you read the history, every day and every week, one VIP was leaving, because he didn't get from Ali what he was thinking that he will get from Ali. Ali didn't give him the governorship of Basra. Ali didn't give him the governorship of Kufa. Ali didn't give him the keys of Baitul Mal. Ali didn't give him the kind of stipend from Baitul Mal which he was used to get before. And then these VIPs, they started leaving, and when they left, they took their resources and their people also. As much as that Muawiyah was used to say that nobody should worry about Ali anymore, this justice of Ali will kill Ali itself. This justice of Ali will take care of Ali. We don't have to worry about Ali. So my brothers and sisters, and finally your Imam becomes abandoned. And today when the Orientalists and the Western scholars, they write about Imam Ali, because they are used to with their system of diplomacy and their system of governing, they say Ali was a good man, he was a scholarly man, he was very pure, he was very pious, but he didn't know the politics. He was not a politician. He didn't know how to govern the country. He was not able to get all these hooks and crooks and all these people in line. And finally, everybody left him, and he was abandoned and he was alone. While Imam Ali himself has answered that. He said, if I had no khawf of Allah, and if there was not the day of judgment, and if I was not going to face tomorrow my Prophet, and if I didn't have that conscience, there was nobody that who would know more politics than me. I would be adhan nas. But if lawla tuqa, if there was no taqwa ilahi. But I am not going to sell my akhirat only for the government of few years. Once when his own students and his own companions sometime, his own close companions would come and try to admonish him, advise him, and give him counsel. That Mawla, if you continue going this path, people are leaving. People are leaving. And please, try to keep some people with you and compromise on some principle. There are two incidents, what again reported in Nahjul Balagha. Once Imam Ali was sitting and he was repairing his shoe. Ek tooti hui juti. It is in Nahjul Balagha. He was repairing his na'lan. And somebody came and gave him the advice. Ya Ali, people are leaving. You need to take little easy. You are turning everybody away. They said it in a very mild way and in a very polite way. Ali asks Ibn Abbas, who was very close to Imam Ali, he was his cousin, he was his right hand after Imam Hassan. So, Ibn Abbas, in your view, what is the value of this shoe? The answer which is written in the history, I will tell you later, but normally our Zakireen have their own, as poets have their own way of saying things, our Zakireen and poets, they have a figurative way of saying. So normally our Zakireen say that Ibn Abbas said, Mawla, if I price it, keeping this in mind, that this is shoe of Ali. جوتی کو نہیں دیکھوں جوتی کیسی ہے, یہ دیکھوں کہ یہ جوتی ہے کس کی. If I put a price on this shoe, considering this that this is a shoe of Ali, then this whole kainat is not the price of this shoe. This is still more expensive because this is shoe of Ali. But the answer given by Ibn Abbas was that Mawla, I really don't know now any price for this shoe anymore. ایک پینی کی نہیں, doesn't have any value. This shoe which you are wearing doesn't have now any value. Imam says, in eyes of Ali, your this hukumat and khilafat for me is even less valuable than this shoe of Ali. علی کی نظر میں اس جوتی کی پھر کوئی قیمت ہے. But this, your government and your hukumat and khilafat doesn't have any price for Ali. And there is a similar incident, it is in Nahjul Balagha, where Amirul Mu'mineen says that people came again with the same advice. Mawla, people are leaving. Do something. Take it little easy. And Imam brings the example. Imam says that if you want to see that how I view this government and the value of government, which you make a big deal, Imam Ali says that take a bone of a pig, and put it in the hand of a person who has the leprosy. برسو جزام کا, اس کو کیا کہتے ہیں جیسے آدمی کو دیکھ کے آدمی کو وحشت ہوتی ہے, کوڑ, برسو لیپریسی کہتے ہیں نا. somebody that whose hand is all shaking and has so many colors and change and all that, and you are scared to see at that hand, and that hand is holding a bone of a pig. How much interest you have in that bone of pig which is in the hand of a person who has leprosy? Imam said, I have no price for this. I accepted this government only for this reason that I will do the ihya of haqq. I will cause the new life in haqq, and I will establish the haqq and truth. And I will fix this community on the godly principles. And if I cannot do that, then there is no value of this government in my eyes. So my brothers and sisters, a man with such principles, straightforward, selfless, pious, zahid, all these words are again falling short to describe Imam Ali. Lived for 63 years in this dunya. And he maintained his record of being a unique person. A person that who was nuskha mufrada. Nobody like him. And all the honors which he took from the Prophet. All the ahadith which we have, I will not get into that. His fada'il are totally unique. No one else had those fada'il which Ali had. His Nahjul Balagha is a challenge, as we post the Quran as a challenge for non-Muslims, and we say that if you have a doubt in Islam, then produce a book like Quran. That is the challenge of Quran. We put this Nahjul Balagha in front of all our Muslim brothers and sisters. And we ask them that if you think that there was somebody in the Muslim history that who was comparable with Ali ibn Abi Talib, at least produce 10 pages of his writing or his speeches comparable to this Nahjul Balagha. One khutbah like khutbah of Ali. One letter like the letters of Ali. one line like the lines of Ali. Your UN has distributed that covenant written by Ali for Malik Ashtar. The best system of the governance. At one time in Pakistan, the Speaker of National Assembly of Pakistan, Marhoom Mehraj Khalid, had made the copies of that Ahd of Amirul Mu'mineen, which he wrote and gave to Malik Ashtar. And he made the copies for each and every member of National Assembly. He was not Shia, he was Sunni. Sayyid Muhammad Abduhu, Mufti of Misr and Rais of Jami' al-Azhar, when he writes the commentary, he says, I have never seen in my life a more comprehensive document explaining the system of the governance and also with these merits and these strengths. He was Raisul Azhar, he was Mufti Misr, Sheikh Muhammad Abduhu, and then he made a commentary on whole Nahjul Balagha. In the time of Secretary Kofi Annan, he had made the copy of this Ahd of Malik Ashtar and has also distributed among Muslim leaders when this war against Iraq was going on. He said, how come a country which had at one time a man like Ali, and he was used to give this kind of system, then what went wrong that in the same country at one time where Ali was ruling, today Saddam is ruling? What a contrast. That at one time this Iraq is under the reign and the government of a man like Ali, and then Iraq is under the reigns and the government of Saddam. That is a big question, my brothers and sisters, which people have to go and make a research on that. And then he pointed out to this Nahjul Balagha, and particularly this document which Amirul Mu'mineen had written for Maliki Ashtar. It's a beautiful writing, my brothers and sisters. Beautiful document. If you get chance, when you go back sometime, you read it. That line which most of the time we quote, that Amirul Mu'mineen spoke to Malik and he said, Malik, people are going to be of two kinds. Either they are going to be your brothers in faith, or they are going to be like you in humanity, meaning they are going to be your brothers and sisters in humanity. And you, who is representing Ali and the noble government of Islam, you have to be fair and just with both brothers. There was no discrimination in the government of Imam Ali. Muslim or Jew or Christian, they were all alike. There are riwayat that Amirul Mu'mineen saw one old Christian man. He was begging in street. And Imam said, he is elderly man. At this old age, he is begging in street of Kufa. Who is he? And why they don't have any stipend for him? They say, Mawla, he is a Christian. He was used to work as a slave. And now, because he can't work, so they have abandoned him. And he doesn't have stipend from Baitul Mal. And he stands here and he begs. Imam Ali got angry and he said, how come? When he was young, you used him and you made him your slave and you made him to work. And now when he has reached to this age of old, he has become elderly, now you have abandoned him. And you are telling me that he is Christian? No matter he is Christian or Muslim, but go and tell the people of Baitul Mal that they should give him stipend, and this man should receive the stipend from the Baitul Mal of Muslimin, and don't abandon him because he is old man or he is a Christian man. So that was Ali, my brothers and sisters. And of course, this way of governance was not going to sit in the mindset of people like Khawarij, those dry, khushk, muqaddas, people that who didn't have the proper understanding of Islam. They couldn't appreciate this way of Ali. And finally, what happened with Ali? We all know that Ali was used to complain, and he was used to say, when I call you in summer, you tell me, Ya Ali, it is summer and very hot, wait for winter. And then when I call you in the winter, you tell me it is very severe winter, Ali, wait for spring. And then you ask me, Ali, wait for summer again. Ali became so much disappointed. Sometimes I use the word, but although I don't feel comfortable for a man like Ali, that Ali had become bitter. If you read his khutbahs in Nahjul Balagha about these messes, and at one point Ali said, "O you who look like men, but they are not men. Ya ashbahan nas, wala nas." O people who look like human beings and insan or men, but you are in reality not men. And then he said that sometime when I see those false following of Muawiyah so committed at batil, and you people are so much picky at haqq with me, that I want to trade with Muawiyah, give 10 of you to Muawiyah and get one of those for myself. That is another pain, that when you are cunning leader and you are cruel leader like Muawiyah or like Saddam, then you have very loyal following. And nobody says even choo or chi. Everybody is following you. But here you get the noble leader like Ali, and everybody starts giving speeches to Ali and start picking and choosing. And the people demonstrated that as they have more taqwa than Ali. Ya Ali, how come we can fight against these people? Ya Ali, how come we go and do this? Ya Ali, how come we do this? Yani they were questioning deen and diyanat of Ali. And this was sabr of Ali, that Ali is still dealing with these people. And people are saying that, Ya Ali, we will judge you. We will go with you, but we are not committing our support with you until finally we will make our mind. And Ali said, no problem, come with me. Come with me, that's okay. Travel with me. Spend some time with me and with my soldiers, and then whenever you make your mind. Even a man like me would reject that kind of support. That if they have to make their mind later after joining me and observing me and watching me and doing all that. But see the sabr of Ali. A man like Ali who is masoom and a perfect man, but he is even content with that kind of help. And then they would come and they would interrupt Ali while he was praying in Masjid Kufa. This is history. That when Imam Ali was praying, they would come and interrupt him in prayer and start doing those things where Imam Ali had to now stop for a while. And then when they would become silent or leave, then Imam Ali would continue his prayer. A man who went through that kind of sufferings. That is why when he was in his last days of life, as I said the other day, he started wishing death. Wishing death in Islam is not very much appreciated normally under common circumstances. But Ali was under now such circumstances that Ali started wishing death. And he said, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live among this community, among these people anymore. If I don't find supporters, if I don't have craze of living 70 years or 80 years or 100 years. I am a man of ideology. I have a mission in my life. If I cannot establish my mission, if I cannot fulfill my mission, if I cannot make my contribution, I don't see any value of this life. And that's why he said, he set a deadline. And he said on that particular, it was a deadline of about 2 weeks. He said, at that particular date, all those who want to join me against this army of Muawiyah and oppression of Muawiyah, all come out from the Kufa. And we will march towards Syria to go and confront this threat. Because Kufa was under attack, Iraq was under attack almost on daily basis. Like in this manhus, this group of Daesh which is doing in these days. These are thieves, these are criminals. And they just come in the darkness of night and they attack on those innocent people. Women, children, common people, soft target. And then they run away. So this is how they would come and they would attack and then run away. And this was the duty of Imam Ali as the head of state, to protect his state, protect his people, protect his following, protect those innocent people. And he was not getting support. So he said, come and join me. Otherwise, if nobody is going to come and join me, Ali will walk alone. This was his words. I will go alone to Syria. And I will fight until I can fight, and finally I will get martyred. And at least I have peace. But I don't want to live this kind of life. Now you understand that when he was struck, why did he say, Fuztu bi Rabbil Kaaba? Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. To Ali, this was a big relief. To Ali, this was a big relief that honorably he is leaving this world as Shaheed. And he doesn't have to see that much destruction and disgrace in his community and his country anymore. And so much blood of innocent people. So my brothers and sisters, this is what happens with the noble ones. If we are mourning today, it is not just that we lost one individual. He was the last hope for the nobility. He was the last hope of the noble governance. That was the big loss. For Ali, Shahadat is Karamat for this family. But Ali could fix the problem and bring this government and this community on the right path, on the path of the Prophet. That was the possibility or probability. But we missed it. This Ashkal Ashkiya, Ibn Muljam, one of the Khawarij, he comes and he hides in the masjid. On the morning of the dawn of the 19th, your Imam comes in the masjid while he is fasting. Old man at age 63, who was weak, who was pale, who was going through all that suffering and stress and everything. When he goes in the prayer, this Abdur Rahman comes out and he strikes at the head of Imam. All of a sudden there is a call at the heavens. The angels started crying, and the people in the family and anybody who heard that was crying and weeping, because this was a terrible news for every lover, for every family member, for every believer, even for every angel to see a man like Ali was struck by the sword of this worst of the men. Ali was injured on deathbed for 2 days, and his friends came, his family members came, and they expressed their love, their respect. Tears were flowing from the eyes of the children, women, men, everybody in the family. These were very emotional scenes. Sometime at the door, some very close companions of Imam Ali like Asbagh bin Nabata. He was a very close companion and lover of Imam Ali. People like Qambar, they would come at the door and start crying, and here they would cry, and then in the home, the women and children would start crying. Sometimes the children and women start crying, and when their voice of crying would come at the door, all these ashab who were sitting at the door, they would start crying. Ali would sometime advise these women, sometime these children, sometime these ashab, that be patient and now just be ready. The time has come where now we have to just leave this world. He made the wasiyats to Imam Hasan Mujtaba, and he made the wasiyats to all his family and children. When this jarrah, when this doctor or this hakim or tabib or whatever, he came and he told, Ya Ali, there is no hope, make the wasiyat. When family members when they heard the word of wasiyat from that doctor, all of a sudden everybody started crying. It means my father is leaving. It means my uncle is leaving. It means the head of our family, our imam, our amir is leaving. So all of a sudden everybody started crying. In the same time when everybody was crying, time comes when Ali took his last breath, and inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This suffering soul, this life of 63 years of commitment, a man who was fulfilling that commitment, he finished his life, and his ruh joined the arwah of anbiya and arwah of awliya. But he had made the wasiyat that timings are so bad that, oh my sons, oh my family members, don't take my janaza open outside to bury. You can understand the timings and the situations of Ali. Fatima Zahra was buried in the darkness of night, and now Ali is also going to be buried in the darkness of night without letting anybody know where he is buried. That is the mazlumiyat, and that is the ghurbat of Ali. That Ali makes a special wasiyat, oh my sons, in the darkness of night, you take this janaza of mine, you hold it from the back. From the front, this janaza will be held by angels. You just follow them. They will take you where this janaza is supposed to go. At the middle of night, this janaza was lifted. Hassan and Hussain, the Masoom sons of Ali, are coming and lifting the janaza, and imagine how the daughters are standing around the janaza, and how the Zainab and Kulthum and those beloved children at the family, everybody is now touching the taboot, touching the mayyit. Baba thodi der aur ruk jaye. Baba थोड़ी देर के लिए और, हसन थोड़ी देर सब्र कर लें. ये हमारे बाप ही नहीं, हमारी माँ भी थे. अली ने हमें रेज किया है. हमारी माँ तो बचपन में चली गई थी जब हम बच्चे थे. अली के साथ जो अटैचमेंट है, जो लव है, जो मोहब्बत है. अली का ताबूत उठा, हसन व हुसैन ने उठाया, और ये ताबूत चला. ये ताबूत चलते चलते एक वीराने में पहुंचा. एक वीराने में आके ये ताबूत रुका, और वहाँ पे वो बताया गया था कि खुदी हुई कब्र मिलेगी. उस कब्र के जब दहाने पे इस ताबूत को रखा गया, तो अंदर से कुछ जाने पहचाने दो हाथ निकले. मेरे मौला हसन और हुसैन ने पहचान लिया कि ये हाथ कौन से हाथ हैं. कहा, बेटे मेरे भाई को मेरे हवाले कर दो. अली ने बहुत सफ़र कर लिया. आओ मेरे बेटो, अब अली को मेरे हाथ पे रख दो. रसूलुल्लाह ने अपने हाथों पे अली की मैयत ली और कहा, या अली, ये आदम की कब्र है, एक तरफ नूह नबी की कब्र है, दो नबियों की कब्र के दरमियान मैं तुम्हें दफन करने आया हूँ. اور میں خود آیا ہوں یا علی، اب تمہارے مصائب ختم ہو گئے، اب تمہاری مصیبتیں ختم ہو گئیں یا علی، آؤ اب میرے سینے سے لگ جاؤ۔ رسول اللہ نے علی کی میت کو سنبھالا، جس طرح سے علی نے فاطمہ کی میت کو رسول اللہ کے ہاتھوں پہ رکھا تھا، اسی طرح سے آج حسن و حسین نے اپنے بابا کی میت کو اپنے نانا کے ہاتھوں پہ رکھا، اور جب قبر بند ہو گئی اور دفن کر چکے بیٹے اور آنسو بہا چکے اپنے بابا کی مٹی پہ، اب واپس چل رہے تھے، روایت بتاتی ہے ایک ویرانے سے گزر ہوا امام حسن مجتبیٰ کا۔ ایک بوڑھا آدمی ہے جو ایک ویرانے میں بیٹھا ہوا اپنے آپ سے باتیں کر رہا ہے، رو رہا ہے، گریہ کر رہا ہے۔ آواز آئی، حسن مجتبیٰ گئے، علی کے تربیت یافتہ تھے، علی کے فرزند ہیں، گئے رات کے وقت ویرانے میں، ایک انسان اپنے آپ سے باتیں کر رہا ہے، یہ غریب کون ہے دیکھنے کے لیے گئے۔ اس کو جب سلام کیا نا، اس کو کہا السلام علیکہ، السلام علیکہ یا عبداللہ، اے اللہ کے بندے تیرے اوپر ہمارا سلام، سلام سننا تھا۔ بوڑھا کہنے لگا جاؤ ہم آپ سے نہیں بولتے، جاؤ ہم آپ سے نہیں بولتے۔ آپ سے کیوں کہا؟ آپ ہم سے کیوں نہیں بولتے؟ کہا آج 3 دن ہو گئے آپ ہماری خبر لینے نہیں آئے، آج 3 دن ہو گئے آپ ہماری خبر لینے نہیں آئے۔ آپ ہر روز ہمارا کھانا لاتے تھے، آپ ہر روز ہمارا پانی لاتے تھے، آپ ہر روز آ کے ہمارے جسم کی مالش کرتے تھے۔ آج 3 دن ہو گئے، میں کھانے کو ترس گیا، میں پانی کو ترس گیا، میں آپ کی آواز سننے کو ترس گیا۔ ایک مرتبہ حسن مجتبیٰ نے کہا اے عبداللہ، میں نے تو تمہیں پہلے کبھی نہیں دیکھا تھا، میں تو پہلی مرتبہ آیا ہوں۔ کہا پھر جو آتا تھا اس کی آواز بالکل یہی آواز تھی، وہ تمہارا بولنے کا لہجہ، تمہاری آواز، تمہاری گفتگو، جس انداز نے تو نے ہمیں سلام کیا ہے، آنے والا اسی طرح سے آ کے سلام کرتا تھا۔ وہ آ کے میرے منہ میں لقمے رکھتا تھا، وہ مجھے پانی پلاتا تھا، وہ میرے جسم کی مالش کرتا تھا، وہ میرے ساتھ بیٹھ کے باتیں کرتا تھا، اور خدا سے کہتا تھا خدایا تیرے مسکین کے ساتھ ایک مسکین بندہ بیٹھا ہے، تو اپنے ان دونوں مسکینوں کو اپنے سایہ شفقت میں لے لے، اپنے سایہ رحمت میں لے لے۔ ایک مرتبہ جب امام حسن مجتبیٰ نے کچھ اور سوال کیے اور اس نے جواب دیے تو حسن مجتبیٰ کی چیخ نکل گئی اور کہا اے بندہ خدا، ہو نہ ہو وہ میرے بابا علی تھے جو خلیفۃ المسلمین تھے، امیر المومنین تھے، وہ آتے تھے تمہارے پاس مگر وہ شہید ہو گئے۔ ارے وہ شہید ہو گئے۔ کہا ہاں شہید ہو گئے۔ کہا میں انہیں دفن کر کے آ رہا ہوں۔ کہا میرے اوپر ایک احسان کر، میرے اوپر ایک احسان کر، بیٹے اپنا نام بتا۔ کہا میرا نام حسن ہے۔ کہا میرا ہاتھ پکڑ اور مجھے اس مظلوم کی قبر پہ لے۔ یہ پہلا ظاہر ہے علی کی قبر کا، جیسے جابر ابن عبداللہ انصاری پہلے ظاہر ہیں حسین مظلوم کے، یہ شخص پہلا ظاہر ہے علی کی قبر کا۔ کہا بیٹا میرا ہاتھ پکڑو، مجھے علی کی قبر پہ لے کے جاؤ، میرا ہاتھ پکڑو، میں اپنے محسن کو چل کے اس کا شکریہ ادا کرنا چاہتا ہوں۔ حسن نے اس کا ہاتھ پکڑا، اس کو علی کی قبر پہ لائے۔ ارے قبر پہ آنا تھا، اس انداز سے اس نے چیخ بلند کی اور گریہ کیا اور قبر پہ گرا کہ وہیں پہ انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ حسن کو ایک میت اور دفن کرنا۔ الا لعنت اللہ علی قوم الظالمین وسیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون۔